Hello, welcome to my channel Conscious Growing. I'm Matthias. And today I want to talk about adding activities while having chronic symptoms. And I think this is one of the most puzzling things for people on the recovery path. So it was for me, and it really took me a long time to see that uh, the walk I had yesterday and the symptoms that came after have nothing to do with the walk, just had to do with how I was thinking and feeling about the walk. So, in other words, when I started to be more active again and did some walks in the park, and I started with, let's say, 5 minutes, and then it became 10 minutes and 15 minutes, and in slow steps means I started to doing these 5-minute walks for a week or so, and then I added more activities. So I was building up some resilience and some trust that my body was able to handle this. But usually on this path it doesn't work so linear. It doesn't mean you start with this 5 minutes and then you add it to 10, 15 and so on. And so it's not like that you feel wonderful and good all the time and you see the progress. It's not like the same thing training your body when you go to the gym and you feel you have more uh, energy and you have more strength and you feel well in your body. It's not like that. If you're retraining your brain, um, means you're training your scared brain, then it's expected that there are lots of unexpected symptoms will happen. Because to describe it in a very simple way is, for some reason we came to a point in our life where our brain was so overwhelmed whatsoever, maybe because of a virus or a personal situation, maybe you lost a beloved one, whatever it was, somehow you reached this threshold in your nervous system, and now the nervous system kind of stopped us and tries to protect us with all it has. And now, after you got better from this virus, the scared brain hasn't understand that the war, so to speak, is over and there's no reason to protect us anymore. And now it's on us to fill this gap again and to go back to life slowly in a continuous way and really trying to make progress every day without forcing and without pushing, of course. But consistency is key here. But what easily happens is when people get familiar with this concept and you see that it makes some sense and you see yourself that this is a nervous system issue, of course you want to get your life back, and then you try things out and you go to the groceries once again and you feel, oh yeah, that was quite okay, it worked quite okay. And then you do it the next day and you have more symptoms again, or a panic attack, or whatever. And this is happening, why? Because the nervous system is still hypersensitized, and it still sees all the actions you do after you have been sick for a while, bedbound for a while, housebound for a while. Now it sees, wow, he or she's doing these things again, and it doesn't understand that there's no threat anymore, and it still wants to protect you. And this is the brain retraining we are doing here. We do it that in the way of adding activities step by step, and we have to take to account that we will experience symptoms, and sometimes strong, unpleasant symptoms. And the point is, how do we react when these symptoms happen? Because, just to give this example, let's say you have been housebound and then you started a few minutes walks and you do them 2-3 times. Then all of a sudden maybe you have some success in the beginning, and then all of a sudden the symptoms come back stronger than ever. And what we usually do is recoil in fear, and we are interpreting these strong symptoms as if we have done something wrong. We have done too much, and then we are scared again. And then we think, okay, this 10-minute walk was too much yesterday. Now I have symptoms. Now I have to rest again. And then you're lying on your bed, on your couch, starting to Google again, trying to find solutions out there. Excuse me. Trying to find solutions out there, and yeah, then you're back in the cycle, in the fear cycle, because you think this very activity is the reason for your symptoms. But most likely it's not, because if any physical things were ruled out by doctors and so on, and if there was nothing found, and you are pretty sure that it's just a nervous system issue, then it's nothing other the brain that causes symptoms. And we have to understand that it still wants to protect us. And so you can feel scary when you're inside, because then your focus is on the symptoms, you observe them, you interpret them, you ruminate with your thoughts, you think about your future and how negative everything feels, and so on and so on. And we easily get stuck there. So that means we made some steps forward, few little steps forward, but as soon as the symptoms come, we are pulled back again in this anxiety and this symptom cycle. And as you might experience that, of course, it doesn't work to push through, just to say, okay, it's just a brain issue, so I do whatever I want. Some people have this attitude, but when you have this attitude, you have to be brave enough to be with the symptoms that will come up then, and they will come up stronger. So therefore it's a way of your own measurement of what you are able to add and not. So I really suggest some small and constant steps. But here's the point: from my point of view at least, I sometimes experienced that I did more and I was quite pleasant while I did it. And then later the day or the day after, there were more symptoms again. And I felt this grip of my amygdala, like creating thoughts to regret what I have done yesterday and better to stay home today and to rest more. And so, but what often happened was that I got stuck here. And later in my recovery, I changed my mindset. So the mindset was, okay, I did activities, the symptoms went higher, and I shifted my attention to what I wanted to do. And I also took to account that I went for the walk the other day, even with high symptoms and even anxiety. So I decided to do it. And here's one important thing. It won't work if you have this idea of, I'm going to do it anyway, with like a strong fixed attitude. It is like you do it because you like the walk, you want to do the walk, you want to hear the birds singing, you want to watch the flowers, you want to be open to meet someone on the street for a nice talk. And this is something completely different. And this is one of the mistakes I made in the beginning, because I tried to push myself through. And I just thought, if I constantly walk, this will be, at least my brain will understand that there's no danger. And this is just partly the case, I would say. But further on my journey, I saw that really my attitude and mindset is what counts most. And so, in other words, I was asking myself, what do I want to do from moment to moment? What do I really want in this moment? And then I went on to the next moment. And that helped me most. And that also helped me to come easier through the day, because if I was making big plans and things I wanted to do, then it easily happened that I was overwhelming myself by my own ideas about it and my own standards and my perfectionistic attitude. So to go from one moment to the other was much better. And but then on this physical level, I built up some resilience, because I walked and slowly prolonged my walks. And it might have started with this 5 minutes I was speaking about, and then it was 10, 15, 20, and so on. And then after a few months, it was a few kilometers. And then at a certain point, I was not thinking about it anymore. I just did them. And I want to share a new thing. This last week, I went to a trip to the countryside out of Berlin, and I went on my own, and I was in a nice place, nice house with a garden, and it was one of my neighbors that gave me this place to stay. And I had so much confidence from the months before that I was able to walk and exercise a little bit. And so I had the opportunity to do some garden work. And then the other day I started to do some garden work, and I enjoyed it so much. So I was starting to sweat, and I did it an hour and 2 hours, and I was totally into it, and it was hot here, and but I did it in the morning, but still it was warm and I was sweating, and I just did it, and I had crazy symptoms afterwards, after the first day. And I thought for a moment, oh, I'm back to this fear cycle, anxiety cycle. And I decided, no, it's not true, because I have done these long walks, so my body is capable to do activities. So if I'm able to walk, the longest was 15 kilometers. If I'm able to walk 10, 15 kilometers, I'm able to do 2 hours of garden work. And why do I share this story? Because from the symptoms side, I could say, oh no, the symptoms are back again, and um, I feel tense now after I've done it. But I understood immediately that that was just another attempt of my brain to protect me, because I haven't done this kind of activities for a while now, and I was there at this place, a new environment. I was just on my own. I left the comfort zone. I I did a lot, but I felt prepared for it because I had this physical activities before as described. So I knew, even if my brain sees this as a threat and gives me symptoms, it doesn't mean that it's dangerous, or it doesn't mean that I have done too much. It's just that my system has to learn that everything is okay, and that this body is capable of doing these kind of works, and that this is no threat. And so it was really important, how am I responding on this spike of symptoms? And I knew what it was, and so what I did, I continued to have normal days. Means I went for swimming, I also had some rest, and even with the symptoms, I decided I do it the next day again. So next day, this garden work again. So my brain was still calling out for some trouble, and I was clear that it's still not convinced, but that this is not a problem, and I can deal with these symptoms. And I continued in this kind of way, not doing too much, not doing it for 6 or 8 hours, but continuously for 1.5 or 2 hours, and then having a break from this again. And I did it a third day, and I did it a fourth day, and there were some waves in between. But now that I'm back home, I feel that something is sinking in again. So now my system made the experience that this was possible. This whole trip was possible. This physical work was possible. And mainly I reacted in a good way. I was not frustrated to have symptoms again, or went down these rabbit holes I went down in the past, in the beginning of this journey. So I was able to be with uncomfortable sensations, but not being ruled by them. And I think this is really the process. We are learning to, we're learning again to do what we want to do. And yeah, at up to a certain degree, we have to see our limits. As I said, when you come from bedbound, you don't run a marathon the next day, but adding activities, doing the things you want to do, building up trust, building up resilience, being willing to experience uncomfortable sensations. This is really key. And I think there are two kind of people. So some people, for them it's really experience the sensations directly, means like things like somatic tracking. You're really lying there, you observe the sensations to come, you're just the observer, you're not involved in it, you let it happen, and as, as, as if you are watching a movie, so there's something going on, but you're not interfering in the movie, you're not part of the movie, you just watch the movie. It's the same thing. And for others it can be helpful to redirect yourself. So in other words, you did something and now there are more symptoms, and how easily we are caught up by thinking we did something wrong. I think this is one of the biggest traps on this track. And so when you're able to, you recognize, you acknowledge these symptoms, your anxiety, whatever it is, and you allow it to be there, and you're not running away from it, you just let it be there, and then you do your activity, your next activity, whatever you want to do. Reading a book, cooking something, making a tea, have a telephone call. So we don't want to be like glue on our own symptoms, but on the other hand, we don't want to run away from them. And this is a subtle process, of course, because on some days you you might need this somatic approach, like you're really dragged down by symptoms a little bit, and then instead of nervously trying to be involved in things, it can be very helpful to have this full stop and to say, okay, I'm willing to meet my symptoms while lying down or while sitting. And then the other day when your mind is spinning too much and you're resting too much, then it's good to take little actions and bring your attention to something you want to do. And I think it's important to do this in a very playful way, because you are exploring yourself with your patterns. The only thing that doesn't work is if you constantly distract yourself, or if you constantly want to run away from these unpleasant states. This will prolong the recovery. This is for sure. So we have to be brave, and we have to be willing to face unpleasant sensations. But this is just a practice, and the more we practice this and we bring it to our daily life from moment to moment, the better we get in it with it, and it will bear some fruits, that's for sure. So, anything else? I don't know. I think this is enough information for today and for now. And yeah, let me know in the comments what are your personal experience And it's also good to find out what works and what doesn't work, because what works for me doesn't necessarily work for you. I mean, all I'm talking about are some common tendencies on this path, but nevertheless, some people find benefit having meditations, and for others, it just means they are again too much focused on their symptoms while meditating, and then the focus is more on the symptoms than anything else, and it makes them even more nervous. So you really have to, you get to know yourself better on this path, and you find out what works and what doesn't work. And yeah, if you have anything to add or to ask or to um, comment, I'm always glad. And if you like this kind of content, then subscribe my channel. And even there's a possibility for a one-to-one coaching if you're interested. You find it on my webpage. This is in the description. So I wish you a good day, and yeah, I wish you lots of strength and brave attitude, and see you next time. Bye.